Sherrie and I have the pleasure of going over a few things this morning that will hopefully be able to help you make some enhancements in your classroom. Some of it might be a bit of a refresher, but hopefully you will learn something new as well, and hopefully you'll find the information that we have useful. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the CETL and kind of going over some of the things that are in there, and I'll also go into it and kind of walk us through and go over a couple of technology things in the classroom, and Sherrie will go over some awesome things as well. All right, so hopefully everybody in here has been able to visit the CETL yet. If you have not, there is the link, and you can also access it via portal.office.com. As you guys know, in order to get into your email, that's what we're using now. So that is the site. The site's link, I'm sorry, is the link that you would actually click on to get to the CETL. So you would click on sites, and it would direct you to the CETL. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so we are in the CETL, and in order to get to our entry point courses, we're going to go to the Division of General Education. And our Doge courses are listed on the left-hand side. I am going to go into our Sci 202 course. Okay, and I'm just going to go over a few things here just because in the interest of time, and unfortunately my computer's slow and trying to get into any of these links. So just a few things that I wanted to share with you guys. Some of the different things that you can find on our entry point courses CETL pages. So you can find all of this information as well on our EXP page as well as the SSO page. Faculty forum recordings are included here. So if for whatever reason you're not able to join us for a faculty forum, if you click on that link on that folder, it'll open up, and the recordings for 2016 are all in here. And you can also view the presentations. I usually include those separately. Teaching documents are included in here, and those teaching documents include the teaching fundamentals for the course, and then also the discussion forum feedback guide. So if you don't have that information, or it's something that you're still trying to find, you can open that up, and that information is in here. Instructional aids, I'm just going to open this one up. Takes a little bit of time. In this section, you'll find some information on announcements, discussion forum responses, and last year we did a few different workshops on the different discussions. That information is included in here as well. So if you're looking for examples that you'd like to take a look at, you can find that information in there. Let me also direct your attention to the archived courses information. Again, this information is also on the EXP page. If you don't have the login information to access the archived courses, that information is here as well. I'm going to go back. Okay, so like I said, so also our contact, all of the full-time faculty contact information is here. If you need to talk to one of us, if you have a question, anything that we can help you with, please feel free to contact us. And there is also additional course information. And some of this, like I said, is in the instructional aids. On the EXP page, you'll find the different course chapters as well as the webinar recordings for the different LML webinars. So if you are still working on developing your knowledge of the EXP material, I really encourage you to go into that page and access those webinars and the textbook chapters as well. And then one final thing, oh, and then there's also different examples of media that some of us include in our courses. You can take a look at those here if you click on those links. And then the final thing that I wanted to talk about is if you enjoyed Dr. Jamie's last session, we have also started to include different articles that she's written here in Dr. Jamie's Corner. So definitely check those out. I read every single one when she sends them to me, and they're all really interesting and have a lot of really great information. So I encourage you guys to check that out. Okay. Let me just bring back that last document. Okay. So again, this is some of the information that you can find on the CETL. Please do go in there and access that information. And if you have questions, feel free to email me. Okay, like I said, some of this is may be a little bit of a refresher, but for some of you, it might be a little bit new. So we wanted to talk a little bit about embedding things like images and PowerPoints and videos, multimedia, that kind of thing in your classroom to enhance your classroom overall. This is a couple screenshots of if you are embedding images into your announcements. If you're in author mode, as you can see, here's a screenshot of me embedding this image into one of my announcements. In author mode, you would click on the mountain range icon, and then the bottom dialog box would come up. You would click on Choose File, and then you'd be able to select the file from your hard drive and then Insert Image. Okay, and then the image will pop up. Now, one thing that I found is that with Google Chrome, it's a little difficult to resize it. If you need to, because some images may come up very large, I found that I'm able to resize them a little bit easier in Internet Explorer. Embedding video and multimedia, once again in author mode, you would select the HTML link, and there's a picture of that down there in the bottom. Paste the embed code from your video or multimedia. So if you're using something like an Animoto, you can pull out the embed code from there and then include that when you're in the HTML mode. If you're embedding a YouTube video, you can also pull up that embed code within YouTube and then be able to cut and paste that embed code and paste that into the dialog box and then hit design and your video will pop up. Okay, embedding in discussion forums. I think this is a really great thing to do, especially to enhance some of the discussions. There's one of the quotes that I've included in my Sci 202 class. I think it's really a great quote. Keep in mind that when you are including images or videos, they are meant to enhance, meant to elaborate on your response that you've just included. So it doesn't substitute for a substantive response. It is meant to be in addition to your substantive response. So I think that's important to keep in mind. You click on the media button and you have your choice of adding video, images, or embedding media into that dialog box. So you can click on either one of those. There's also a tutorial that we've included, so you can feel free to download that, and that will walk you through the different steps as well. But there are a couple of screenshots of how you would embed those types of things into discussion boards. Okay, and then the last thing is linking resources. One thing I think is really helpful to do is to link your instructor guidance in your announcements. So this is something that I do in my welcome announcement for each week. I link the instructor guidance. And the way you can do this is by clicking on that world icon, and then you'll see that dialog box pop up there on the bottom. You can link to either a website, you can link to course content. In order to get to the instructor guidance, you would choose that link to course content, that you would use that. Or you can also link to different articles, different content files. So that's the route you would take to access that information. Okay, I am going to turn it over to Sherrie, who has a few additional things to share.
Hey everyone, I just want to add a few more quick tips, so I'll try to go swiftly because as Rizza said, this is probably a refresher. So the first tip is the different forms of textbook that's available. As you know, there are a number of ways students can easily access a textbook on the go. These forms are all available. I generally start advertising this as early as the introduction forum so they know they have these options out there. So if you have students asking how to get to the textbook or how to get different versions of the textbook, they just go over and click that download icon, and these versions are all out there for them to use. And the second tip is emailing from the gradebook and discussion. Now, when I discovered this, it was like striking gold. I use this a lot. Sometimes students miss only a part of the discussion prompt. Sometimes they miss the entire prompt and they need guidance. Now, I think a lot of times if I just copy and paste the discussion prompt as my response, I could be calling them out. And so instead of doing that, I'll respond to what they post, but I'll also shoot them a quick email encouraging them to check their response in the discussion and follow up. I also use this function to solicit responses. So if I think a student needs to follow up with me, I'll send them a quick email to say, hey, I responded to your discussion. Please check, respond, follow up with me. I'll follow up with you. I also use the email function in the gradebook, and I use this a lot, especially for that week 1 grading when I want to advertise that feedback is available and that it's important. So I just copy and paste my comments in the email box, and in one easy step, I have direct contact. I mentioned here inserting the title of the feedback before sending because I don't think there's a subject line for that available. So it helps to be clear about which assignment the feedback is referring to. So I'll just say week 1 discussion 1. I'll copy, paste my comments, and off it goes. And editing your own responses is another quick thing that can be done. Personally, I like perfection, and sometimes I don't see a glaring error until after I click post and I freak out. So with this function, I can easily go over to the author mode and I can edit my own response. I would recommend not making major changes too long after posting because, of course, students may have already read your post. Also, this function is to be used solely for your own responses and not for students. All the posts that are in the discussion are part of students' academic records, and they shouldn't be tampered with. The same goes for deleting. If you assess and you think you need to remove a student's post for whatever reason, you really need to confer with your FSDA and follow the proper protocols. I think we have a document here outlining those steps for you, so you can read further on the policy for removing posts, or you can follow up with your FSDA. Okay, so another thing we can do is change the subject line in discussions. In order to do this, you will need to click the course admin button here and select threaded discussion preferences, and you'll get to this particular page. Now, I know an email came out from the university last year, I think, asking instructors not to click anything in this area. And that's because we can seriously mess with the functions of the discussions here. So if you're going to try this, please be sure to click only this option here that says students can edit the subject line. Now, you may ask why on earth you would edit a subject line, and here are a few reasons. I've seen instructors do this. They've called out to students. They've called out to a group of students. I was reading an article that says, you can also have the subject line reflect the content of your post. I thought it's a good way of drawing attention because we really want students to be reading those posts and following up with you. So if you're going to try this, be creative. See how many responses you can get back. And lastly, there's metadata. I use this feature mostly for my biography. So instead of having to upload it each time or copying from a previous course, all the content that you post in eCollege is there for access. So when you're ready to set up your bio, when you go over to author mode, instead of clicking create new content here, you would go in and you would type the title of your last content. So for example, I always save my bio as Meet Your Instructor. So I type that here, I click go, and it pops up all the content there so I can select one and publish immediately. Now there's a link right here that gives further information on metadata. And I think that link should be available if you click there, but if it's not, we can send that link out to you. So if you want to explore how to use that further, there's a lot of information out there from eCollege. So that's it for tips. I haven't been looking at the conversation. Is there any questions for us? Seems not.
I think that you hit. I was just going to say, I think you hit on everything, Sherrie. There was one comment that I think that they're covering on author mode versus course mode when you're responding there, and the possibility of, if you're in author mode, students receiving an alert, whereas if you're in course mode, they might not. I'm not sure if you or Rizza know the answer to
that. No. If you're in author mode, you receive an alert.
I'm not sure. Charlotte had proposed that maybe if you're responding in author mode, the student, Jeff's saying he doesn't think there's any type of alert. So I'm not sure, but we can look into that.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I'll turn back over to you, Julie.
Thank you very much.